bloke here is not here for any purpose or reason.
Avi, let's
Put him under arrest. But this guy here is going to be placed under arrest right now.
Well, I'm under arrest. I am media. I'm media. I've got my permit in my pocket. My permit is in my pocket. I'm fine. I've got my permit in my pocket. I work for Rebel News. I am lawfully here. I've got my permit in my pocket.
What does that mean? That Avi didn't have any purposeful reason for being there? I've never heard that phrase before. He had whatever reason he wanted, whatever purposes he chose. We don't need our purposes approved by a police state. His purpose was obvious. He was doing journalism in an event of great public interest. Well, that is why he was arrested. And joining us now via Skype from Melbourne, Australia, is our newest teammate, Avi Yemini. Avi, great to see you again. You joined us on Friday. You were arrested on Saturday. Sorry about that, mate.
That's what a real rebel's about.
Well, of course, we know you from before. We've got to know you from the UK, covering Tommy Robinson's travails together. You worked for Tommy for a while with TR.News. Tommy's on other projects. I tell you, it's so nice to have you work with Rebel News. It's like you were built for Rebel News. You're a bit of a rebel yourself.
It's exciting times. It is exciting, and you know, the first project I've done now, I feel like I fit right in, and the team works so well together that, you know, from the minute that I was in custody, I don't even know what time it was for you there in Canada, but you were talking to Rhonda and organising things. Like by the time I got out, I wasn't in there for that long, and I spoke to you almost immediately, and you were up to date and you were ahead taking care of the situation. So it's really exciting to be on this team now.
Well, it's nice of you to say the time zone is very difficult because, you know, when you're going to bed, we're waking up and vice versa. But I trust your judgment so much. Your work is so strong. And you are in, I believe, the city of Melbourne, which is a wonderful city I had the pleasure of visiting. I think it is actually the most locked down, most civil liberties abused city in the Western world. I'm not going to say in the whole world, because there's probably some places in North
when you look
Korea
at lockdown, when you look at lockdown and even compare it to China,
yeah,
our lockdown has been more severe. So when it comes to dealing with COVID-19, it is certainly the most restricted in the world.
You know what? The way you were treated there reminds me of when you went to Hong Kong. And I really think that was a shining moment for you when you did accountability journalism and told the story of the Hong Kong democracy protesters around the world with a sense of humor. And you were courageous in the face of their riot police. I have to say, in all of your reports, I never saw Hong Kong riot police do what was done to you in Melbourne. Maybe I missed it, but I think that the Melbourne police are just as rough as the Hong Kong police. I know that people aren't sent away to gulags in Melbourne yet, but the police work was just as brutal as anything you showed from Hong Kong.
I've been to protests all around the world, and the only other place that I can compare it to, rightfully, is Hong Kong. I was saying this today. The only difference really was tear gas. But their tactics were very similar in the way they, tried to pick out and trap person by person and targeting the media. But like you said, even with all that, in Hong Kong, I'd never been tackled by, 6 officers to the ground. Wasn't resisting compliance. Just, it was the most surreal, bizarre situation to be in here in Melbourne, Australia. In Hong Kong, I probably would have expected it. Not in Melbourne.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I just was able to capture it on camera so people can see what happens when you give such power to power-hungry people. And, that humans are not built to be given such power. I have all the respect in the world for police, but they have their role and they're meant to serve the community. The problem when you start giving them these state of emergency powers that allows them this full reign over the people, and starts to give them this idea that they're somehow controlling the people instead of protecting the people. Well, that's the natural result. Even before, and obviously a lot of the footage that we captured there is still going to come, but even before, until when the police tactics, when they came in, it was almost like they felt they were above the law. Nobody has any rights. It doesn't matter who you are. Most of the mainstream media, as you saw, were willing to accept that, but they just absolutely did not respect anybody's right of anything.
Yeah. Well, and that was perhaps the most telling part of your video, is you spoke to two mainstream media journalists from legacy stations, Channel 7, Channel 9, large, long-time TV stations in Australia. And when you spoke to them, when your camera was running, when you were talking to them, they said, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I can't comment, mate. Don't know what you mean." But your cameraman just happened to catch them bantering.
And I was watching it.
Let me throw a clip to how they really felt about things, but wouldn't say on camera, wouldn't say in public. Only by accident was this captured. Take a look at this.
Same here. They threatened me with arrest.
For being in a park.
Yeah.
He was like, "You're in a police officer." I'm like, "Hey, what does the police say?" Officer over there, he told me to go stand next to the police meeting. You're not listening to me.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I don't listen.
And I'm like,
He said,
yeah.
consistency. That's what you hope for. A clear, consistent message.
Started arresting him.
I'm talking about to the media.
Avi, what I see there is terrifying. You see legacy media journalists who know the true depth of the problem, who are personally outraged, angry, offended, but are biting their tongue and just towing the line. Everything's fine. Personally, they know that there's deep trouble in Melbourne, but they won't breathe a peep of it in public. That's their job, is to report and warn the people, but they're not. I wonder why.
It's shocking. And I went back to Paul Dowsey, for example, for Channel 7. I went back specifically to watch his report, hoping that he'd mentioned it, hoping that he said something about it, especially because it happened to him and he was so outraged about it. You know, he expressed it in his direct language in a very Australian manner. I didn't expect him to use the same language, but to kind of paint that picture. But no, the only picture he painted is that the protesters were just a bunch of crackpot, low class nutcases that were breaking the law by being there and protesting, and police were going hard on them, but he was kind of implying so they should, which was not really how he felt.
Yeah.
And, when I came across that footage during the editing and I'd seen it, I felt vindicated. Like, you see, I told you I was saying the truth. The problem wasn't me, it was you guys. Yeah. And it's the fact that you're unwilling to tell the world and to share the truth with the rest of the world. People want to know what's happening. And it's scary because I was having a conversation with people in the media here who don't go out on the street, who actually rely on the TV networks, the mainstream TV networks, to kind of get a sense of what's happening at these different events. And then they commentate on it.
Yeah.
But you see, all the images that they're seeing until we can go onto the streets, all the images that they're seeing across all the channels, from the state-run to the commercial ones, is this narrative that the police are fine and the government's fine and they're not overreaching. It's just these crazy conspiracy theorists.
Yeah. The fact that the journalists are lying to themselves, and we've got the proof of that, you got the proof of that, is just the most incredible thing. Well, listen, it's so great to have you as a rebel. We like to defend our talent. I mean, just last week, our friend in Toronto, David Menzies, was arrested. He wasn't slammed to the ground, thank God, but he was stuffed in the back of a police car for a period of time, completely unnecessary. And like in your case, he didn't do anything that warranted an arrest. We believe in defending our journalists physically, if that's an issue. Now, we're not going to, have a private security to defend you against the police. That doesn't work. But to defend you legally. And from what I understand, there's no charges pending against you. But I think the reverse could be true. I think what I saw happen to you and what the world saw happen to you, last I checked, your video's doing incredibly well. People all around the world are riveted by what they're seeing for the first time from Melbourne. I think you could have a claim against those police for a number of things. And again, we 99% of the time, we stand with the police, we support the police, we like the police. But when they become political errand boys, smashing the enemies of the state for partisan reasons, we have to fight back. And we'll have to talk more about this later. But I see suing the police for assault, battery. They came around your house later in a harassing way. I think that, frankly, you wouldn't just be doing yourself a favor by suing. You would be setting down a marker that all people in your state of Victoria, the big state in Australia.
Absolutely.
I think it would be the beginning of a pushback, people reclaiming their civil liberties. We'd love to help you with that if that's something you're interested in doing.
Of course, I think here everybody's looking for somebody to do something about it because everyone's feeling helpless. And, it has to end, because if they could do that so brazenly in front of people, and, he knew that I was being filmed. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He knew I was being filmed. So if they're willing to do that to me in front of a camera, then what are they going to do to the next person? And where are our basic, most fundamental rights?
Yeah.
I was thinking about it today, thinking, imagine anybody else acted that way, not the cops. If a group of boys went and knocked somebody down like that who was just working, went up to a journalist, but they weren't holding a badge.
Yeah.
But in exactly the same circumstances, they would be put in jail.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for the police to be put in jail. I'm asking for them to apply that kind of force where it belongs, and that's against criminals. The ironic thing here is that in the state of Victoria, youth gangs have run riot. They've held our city hostage. The police have never acted like that. I didn't even know we had that many critical response units. I've never seen that in my life.
And they were dressed like RoboCop. I've never seen such an outfit before. It looked like stormtroopers.
I've been across rallies here for years. I did not even know we had that many, and they should be put to good use, but to protect citizens and civilians, not attack journalists. And I'm with you, and I'm really excited, and I'm humbled by the amount of support we've been getting from all the Rebel subscribers that have been writing to me, asking how they can help. I can't even get to the messages. I'm inundated on every single platform, and we're in this together. They like to say that here about the COVID. I'd say we're in this together for the pushback, and I'm sure we'll get some good news soon.
Right on. Well, it's baptism by fire, as they say. Welcome aboard. It's great to talk with you. Thanks for staying up so extremely late. The time zone makes it difficult, but other than that, I tell you, you're an integral part of our team here. We're going to do our best to work with you to defend your right to practice journalism in Australia, and we do that often by crowdfunding legal actions. It would not surprise me if we were able to come up with a solution even this week. We have to let not just the Victoria Police, but everyone in the state of Victoria, everyone in Australia, and everyone in the free world, that you cannot allow politicians to flatten the curve of our civil liberties. Avi Yemini, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us.
Really exciting. Thanks for having me, Ezra, anytime.
All right, there you have it. Avi Yemini of Melbourne, Australia, the newest Rebel journalist. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.